Alright guys, it is nearing the end of 2022 and I just want to do a final update. I have definitely gotten away from doing videos. A lot has happened since I did the last video, but first off I will start by showing you what cars I have and what the plans are for 2023. So right here in front of me, these three cars do not run. This is a 1986 Cavalier wagon that I picked up for $500. It needs an engine rebuild. I believe the piston rings are gone in it. The oil smells like paint thinner and old gas. So if I had to guess, there's a lot of old fuel in the oil. It sat for probably 4 or 5 years before I picked it up. It is clean. It has some weird rust spots, like right here. Just rusting out right there for some reason. I don't even know why. I don't know if it had a really deep cut from something or another, but whatever. It is very clean underneath, and I have been under it quite a few times. It has the Iron Duke, of course, if anybody knows old Cavaliers. This in front of us is the Elantra, if anybody remembers it. I blew the computer up in it. I need to get a computer for it, weld the doors shut, and it's literally ready to run. That's a really big pain in the ass. This one is the 99 two-door Cavalier that we also blew the computer out of. Now this one, I believe, the guy I bought it off of had removed the radio prior to me buying it. And I drove on the trailer. Oh no, I didn't. Sorry. This is the one the transmission lines are cut. This one got pushed onto the trailer. I got home, fixed the tranny lines, and started right up, drove it off the trailer, and drove it in front of my house to where I do all my welding at. And we basically built the entire car there. Then went to start it. It kind of ran like shit for maybe 2 minutes. And then I went to move it, and it shut off, and it wouldn't refire. It would start with starting fluid. And mind you, it had, at the time, it had an aftermarket gas tank and fuel pump. Everything was set up and running. It was pushing fuel through it. And it just wasn't having that. What else went wrong with it? Oh, then we put a carburetor on it. We put a 2-barrel carburetor on it, and it ran. Let me tell you, it ran. And somebody got to playing around with it, and I think I blew the head gasket out of it. So I guess this winter it's going to get a head gasket. I'm going to buy a racing computer for it. Put all the fuel injection stuff back on it. And we're going to see if we can get it to run next year. So that's that for this one. And it's got a full cage in it too. This car is literally ready to go once you get it running. Like, it's welded, it's dished, it's roof barred, the tires are tubed, and it's got dirt bikes, it's got sidewalls, the suspension's lifted and clamped. It's got a point on it, not much of a point, more for looks than anything. This bumper's gonna need really reinforced before it goes to the show that I want to take it to. But the plans are, I think, Fulton County Fair. I think. Don't hold me to that. This one will probably be a random show or Fulton County Fair. And that one is going to be a yard ornament for a couple years, because that is going to probably be like a bash for cash build or something in a couple years once we get more experience building. And everything else up through here runs. Buick Century, which I paid, what did I pay, $400 for this one? I think. Yeah, I paid $400 for this Buick Century. It's rotted, it's gone, but the motor runs immaculate. Once again, this one is also a yard ornament for this year because I don't think I'm going to do anything with it because there's not a show I want to run with it. Again, I do need to start it up again. And then the very first car that started the channel is, of course, the Subaru. I don't feel like lifting the tarp off this thing. This is a very heavy canvas tarp. It's literally ready to go again. It's got a bunch of parts in the back of it. It's literally ready to go. There's a couple things I would do to it to make it better, that I have more experience. But other than that, right now I would literally put a different bumper on it and feel confident to run it in a trash it show. Just because this motor is pretty much failing in this car. It's burning oil, it's leaking oil. There's probably no oil in the motor. Well, there probably is oil in the motor, but just not in the valve area right now. Probably all leaked out. This tire back here is crooked, and I can't find out what's crooked. Everything is straight. I don't know if it messed up the bearing, maybe. Yeah. So that's that one. And I bought this car at the same time I bought the two-door Cavalier. This is a four-door 99. And as far as I know, there's nothing wrong with it. It drove back here just fine. I mean, I drove it back here with no water. I literally drove it for like 30 seconds and shut it off. Waited a couple minutes, started up again, drove it a little more. Just because I didn't want to put water in it just to take it back out because I knew it was going to sit for a while. This one is probably going to be a Fulton County car as well. And both Cavaliers, when I bought them, had a good bit of rust in the back. Like this one, I think you can see through the floor. That will be taken care of accordingly. I'll just put it that way. I was told, Fulton County, the rules are pretty much non-existent there. Which is where I ran the Subaru, and I was very underbuilt to two of the cars I was in there with, and the other one was just kind of there. So that's the plans for that one. And this one is my brother's. I think it's his. I bought it. I don't know what we're gonna do with it, but believe he's running it. And this is probably going to be Bedford, and then if it survives that, it'll probably go to Shippensburg. And then we have the Nissan Maxima. It is coming along pretty well. I just bought those forklift tires off a buddy about a month ago. Put them on, took the brakes off. Sits beautifully. I'm really impressed with this back axle. Pretty decent back axle, mounts in the middle, and then it has a strut on an angle. I don't know if you guys can see that angle up into the frame. And then it's got these arms right there. That just seems like a fairly decent setup to me. I don't know. We'll find out. These motherfuckers are heavy. Okay, like, I don't know, maybe 50, I don't want to give them a guess on that. I haven't picked them up in a little bit, but they are heavy, like, heavy. Then we got the front of this thing, which I'll have to do a whole separate video on. I'm not going to waste everybody's time on this car right now. But there's something very disappointing about this car. It's a manual. I was a little upset about that. Not like upset, but okay, disappointed that it was a manual. I've been driving a manual every single day on the road for 4 or 5 months now, I believe. That's what my Jeep is. That's what my diesel is. So hopefully I do a little bit better than I did in the Echo. If you guys remember that, or if you guys have watched previous videos, I had a 4-cylinder Toyota Echo that had a manual in it. I did half decent in that car, I thought. I was shut off for quite a while, quite a few times. I was fighting starting issues, but I think the main problem was I couldn't. The engine was so small, I couldn't hear it running or trying to start over everybody else's motors, and I didn't know if it started or not. And it would start, and then it would stall itself out because I was still cranking the starter, I guess. But yeah. And then this PT Cruiser, it runs barely. I think it's got half a tank of gas in it. It's sat for a year and a half. So I think it's just running on bad gas, but I'm too cheap to empty all the gas out and put good gas in it. And the only problem that this thing has, I got this too, is the fact that after it sat for a week, it would drain the battery and the battery would be dead. They had 4 or 5 different batteries they tried, brand new batteries in it, and it would just drain out after a week. And it was a backup vehicle, so they didn't use that often. So that damage happened after it got here. I've been using this thing to move cars around, so I just unhook the battery every time I'm done using it. And then there's this Dodge Durango. I sold these parts off of it. I really shouldn't have. But it's a junk vehicle. I hope it's going to last a while. I've already sold them. I got it for $500, and I sold, let me think, over $200 worth of parts off it already. So it was a $300 vehicle. You know, I still have to scrap it, so it's probably going to be another $100 there. But I'm probably going to run this with trucks. Maybe at Bedford. I want to say at Bedford. But I'm probably going to run this at Bedford. My brother's going to run his Jeep at Bedford. And then I'm thinking my brother and my friend are going to run cars at Bedford. So I don't know how many trips I'm going to have to make. Hopefully just one, because vans and full size are different nights. I still got to sell these rims off of it too, so I'm probably going to get it down to where I only paid like $200 to $100 for this whole Durango. I need to get a head gasket in this so I can daily drive it, because I'm pretty sure that's what's wrong with it. This is a Camry that I paid way too much for. We're not going to talk about that. That's hopefully going to get run for at least a year. And you got this son of a, we'll say son of a gun here. A Suburban that I paid way too much for, and then I lost the keys to. So luckily this has the 5.3 in it, and I know how to hot wire that. Done in the past, can do it now. So I guess this thing's gonna be running on wires instead of the key, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just haven't messed with it yet. Interior's completely shot in this one. Usually, recently when I've been buying cars, the interior of them have been beautiful. And this one's pretty shot. As you can see right now, it's a tire storage unit. I think that's a good battery. All these ratchet straps I got for free from work. But yeah, so this one, like when I put the battery in this thing, it started itself. So I think the computer's messed up in it anyway. So hopefully it holds together long enough for me to smash it. But I think this one is going to be 2024's truck for Bedford. I was going to run them together. I was going to have my brother run one, and I was going to run one, but I really want to run both of them, so I'm not going to give him an SUV to run. And then I got that truck, which that's a sore issue. And then there's also the Cobalt way up there. And then there's the Cobalt, which my friend's going to run a new Alex, which is also where the Nissan's running. She needs to put her donut tires on it. I gotta put a bumper on it, different bumper, because it's gonna be a pretty hard show. What else do I need to do this? Oh, I need to put a cage in it, because there is no cage in it, and I would feel horrible if it got hurt. And then I gotta put my racing tank in it, because this tank worked, but I don't want it in there with her. And also, started plating the subframe. Go ahead and joke about my welds. I know they're absolutely horrible. But the thing is, I've never had a weld break on me, except for on a lawnmower. And that's because that was the very first thing I ever learned to stick weld on. That's the first thing I learned to weld on. I learned with a stick welder. So, I don't think they're too bad. These welds aren't too bad, to be honest, for welding. And 30-degree weather with a little flashlight. I mean, I'm talking about a flashlight that pretty much dead. I also gotta remember, this is the car that I put a caviler spindle in. Back in here. It's got a steel caviler. I had to cut the tire off because it was bent, add in some metal, and weld it all together. Hopefully that holds for her. And I also had to make my own ball joint because the caviler spindle didn't match up to the Cobalt A-arm, and I had already scrapped the A-arm on the caviler. So I really should have kept the A-arms off the Cobalt, but I didn't. I mean, off the caviler, but I didn't even think about it. And I believe I'm allowed a plate on each side of the frame. This is a pre-ran, so we're technically allowed 6 fix-it plates altogether on pre-rans, but we're only allowed 2 fix-it plates on fresh cars. So we're probably going to have to bash the Nissan and the Cobalt together so I can consider the Nissan a pre-ran, you know. I technically would be a pre-ran. And I got to cut, I don't think we're allowed to shorten the frame, but I think I'm gonna cut it like from that point across to level it up so I can put my 2x6 on here. And I got to loop these hoses together, put in a loop kit, because Chevys hate to be looped. At least these little 2.2s hate to be looped. But it's just gotta last long enough until somebody takes her out. This will be her first derby, and there's gonna be like, I don't know, 30 cars in there. This is the very first derby of the year. I really shouldn't put her in with 30 cars, but I'm going to. So time to get over here to the last car in the collection. This one, Ford Escort wagon, 98 I think, maybe? I don't remember. All got Christmas lights on it. It is extremely clean underneath. Like the one fender on the other side is like gone. Right there. But like underneath is clean. Like there's rust on stuff, but like everything is clean. I'll have to get into it further. Yeah, this thing only runs on 3 cylinders, and it's missing the fuse block, so I gotta put a fuse block in it to see if it even runs. But I got this thing for 150 bucks, and the caviler converter was $175. So I've already made 25 bucks on this car. So I gotta get a $50 fuse block to put in it. Either that or buy another Escort with the same motor and steal the fuse block. Obviously this one runs. I like that idea better. But it was a wagon. I couldn't pass that up. Worst case scenario, I'll put a different motor in it. But I'm a sucker for clean wagons. I think I got 3 of them now, minus the PT Cruiser. But that is it, guys. That is all the cars that I bought. My collection for 2022, and I'm trying to get more. Oh shoot, I didn't even do the lawnmowers. Hold on. Alright, sorry for the poor lighting, guys. The only light I have is the light on my phone. So this is the one that I want, so this is the mower that I need more with 2 years in a row. And I got 3rd out in West Virginia, but you guys have probably heard me rant about that derby. Got completely destroyed by 2 overbuilt mowers that shouldn't have been in there. But anywho, so I got this mower for free, and I have won, shit, hold on, $7,500, over $200 worth of prize money on a free lawnmower. It is completely bent, frame's bent, probably at a 30-degree angle, I want to say. You can't really tell on camera. And there's this one, which needs the motor thing needs taken apart and cleaned. I think it's got way too much carbon in it. And it needs a carburetor. And then you got my brother's down here. The whole engine needs tore apart on it and cleaned out because he flipped it on its side for too long and got oil down in the wrong place. One thing after another. But that's that for these mowers. I got a couple more sitting outside I'm not going to bother you guys with. But yeah, that is 2022 and plans for 2023. And I hope you guys join me next year for this demolition journey.